Introducing the Spirit SE1 aircraft. It's an airplane that's a clean sheet design, including the engine. And today we get to speak directly to the man behind the machine, Steve Wood. Out here at OSHKOSH opening day, and Steve here at Spirit Engineering. Now, I've heard about this company years ago. In fact, I think he and I spoke, but not quite sure on that. But it's airframe and engine, brand new to the market here. So Steve, introduce yourself and what is Spirit Engineering about?
My name's Steve Wood. I'm the president of Spirit Engineering, and what Spirit Engineering is about is developing this airplane that we brought here primarily. We started off to design a low-cost airplane, and let me just qualify that somewhat. There are four things that make aircraft ownership expensive: acquisition cost, direct operating cost, storage cost, and maintenance cost. And what we think we brought here is our answer to those four.
All right, so we're going to do a bit of a walk around and talk about the airframe first, and then the engine. They actually developed their own engine to go along with this airframe.
Yep.
Steve, let's kind of like work backwards a little bit here and go right into what the airplane is, and we'll go into how it came to be. Okay. So what is it exactly that you've brought to market this week?
Well, we brought an all-metal conventional construction airplane. It's very efficient. It's eye candy, at least we think it is. It's ear candy too if you get to hear it run. We'll be doing some flying this evening in the ultralight air, I'm pretty sure.
Perfect.
This airplane has been designed to attack those four cost elements that I just described. And I wouldn't stand here and say this is the ultimate best solution, but we believe it's a remarkably good solution. It has very harmonious controls. It's wonderful to fly. It's just a delight to fly, and we couldn't be more happy with the performance and the economy of operation.
So it's an all-metal. Is it 6061 or 2024 construction?
It's 2024 all-clad.
Okay, and this is pop riveted or solid riveted?
No, solid AD rivets. Yeah.
And is this offered as a kit or strictly ready to fly?
Strictly LSA, strictly ready to fly. There were several rules that I laid down when we started this project. One, no pop rivets. Two, no plastic. Three, no fiberglass. We just wanted a very durable, a durable product that people would be drawn to and would provide, a very, very long life of reliable operation.
Just to see how this thing opens up, obviously it's very streamlined with that close, but get an idea of the cockpit design. You said 275-pound pilot could fit in here, and the capacity for it. Center stick, is it a direct, talk about the tail wheel here, is it direct steering or?
Direct steering,
okay.
Non-swivel. The ailerons and elevator are push-pull tubes, the rudder is cable. And the brakes are mechanical, so they're cable operated as well. The rudder pedals move fore and aft about 4 inches, and the seat moves up and down 3 or 4 inches. That's how you accommodate pilots of different size and leg length and general.
Now, this is open cockpit, but it's also a partial bubble. Is there an option for a full bubble to be enclosed?
Well, we're working on one, as well as a tricycle gear. I mean, they're both quite a ways along. The simple truth is, no one at Spirit Engineering right now is real enthused about either of those options because they like flying an open cockpit tail wheel airplane. So we'll probably have to get out the bullwhip to bring those to the finish line. You
might be convinced if enough interest shown.
Exactly, yeah. Now, we did something when we designed the main gear on this airplane. It's a trailing arm gear, and we designed the trunnion so that you could unbolt it from the wing, rotate it, re-bolt it through holes that are already in the trunnion, pull one bolt out of the bottom of the shock absorber in the trailing arm and put it in a new hole, and now your landing gear is configured for the main gear of a tricycle gear airplane. You wouldn't even have to adjust the brakes.
Without going into the factory just yet, but
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit like the process.
Well, we build
of manufacturing.
we build the airplane in major elements.
Okay.
All the empennage components are made in one station or cell. The tail cone, which by that we mean from the stern post up to the seat back, is one assembly. The cabin sides are left and right assemblies. The center section of the wing is the most complex portion. It's where you sit, it's where the controls are located, it's what the landing gear attaches to, and it's of course part of the wing fold. So the center section is it's the most time-consuming piece. Has the most parts, has the most rivets of any of the elements. We build the outboard wing panels separately, and ailerons, canopy hatches, those are the main things, and cowling, firewall forward.
All right, Steve, so let's talk about the other extremely exciting thing you got going on is you actually came to market with your own engine.
That's correct.
How did this come to be? Let's get the backstory of this first before we reveal everything.
Okay, the original conception of the airplane was that we could take a commercially available V-twin engine that was relatively inexpensive and without very much modification turn it into a reliable aircraft engine.
Okay.
I won't name names, but in the event, two things prevented that from happening. One, we're not exactly sure that they would have sold us the engines in volume. The engineers were very excited about it. Potentially, people down in Mahogany Row in the company weren't as excited about it, okay, the prospect. But also, and maybe even more importantly, by the time we had our hands on the third or fourth one of these engines, and we had to open them up to do some internal modifications because we started with an upright V-twin, and the first thing we did was inverted it, dry sumped it. We had to do a little plumbing change inside, so we opened the engines to inspect and look inside. We realized that, oh, they changed the piston. Since the last engine we saw, the piston design has changed, or the thrust bearing has changed, or something else. That's when we said, the only way we're going to have a reliable source of an engine that a board meeting decision couldn't overturn out of our control is we have to make our own.
Dynon Avionics at Dynon.com, offering everything from state-of-the-art glass cockpit options to advanced control modules that power and control your entire aircraft. Gratia Aero Group at GratiaAero.com, proudly representing these best-in-class brands for experimental general aviation. Sherwings, BD Aviation, and MW Fly. KFA, Kitplanes for Africa, engineered for adventure and build for the bush is their motto, offering several STOL-kit aircraft options like the Expedition, Safari, Bush Baby, and Explorer. Find them online at kitplanesforafrica.co.za. BravoFox at bravo-fox.com. The US Distributor for Blackshape Aircraft, providing sales, maintenance, spare parts, and repair services, located at the Sheridan Airport in Indiana. Visit us online at ExperimentalAircraftChannel.com for all things DIY aviation. And consider supporting us on our Patreon page to help us bring you more original aviation content. So let me stop you right there and ask, why invert the V?
Well, you know what I tell people? We would all be flying inverted V engines if the Germans had won World War II. Everything they flew was an inverted engine, and predominantly inverted Vs. There are several advantages to inverted V engines. One, when it's direct drive, the thrust line is very high, so that gives you a lot of propeller clearance. The center of gravity of the engine is low, and that's always a favorable thing in airplanes. This being a single throw crankshaft engine, it's very compact. It's a two-cylinder engine, but it has one crankshaft throw, as opposed to 4 crankshaft throws in, say, a flat 4 or a boxer configuration engine. It's a very compact engine from front to back, side to side. The V narrows the engine, so it's not this big wide thing you're trying to look around that's obstructing your view. And last but maybe not least, they really sound cool.
That's another selling point by far.
It's a distinctive sound. Anyone in our neck of the woods that's, you know, been following our flight testing, they know when we're in the air, because they can recognize the airplane by the sound signature. Sounds a little bit like a radial engine or something, or a little bit like a Harley Davidson running down the interstate at about 70 miles an hour.
So as a 2-cylinder V-twin, what kind of power are you producing, and how long can you keep it at that power setting?
You can stay at the max power indefinitely. The engine redlines at 3,000 RPM, and we don't have a time limit on the 3,000 RPM.
So what kind of cylinder head temperatures are you seeing? Of course, your testing again is about 5,000 density altitude.
The hottest we've seen in recent testing at high density altitudes, probably, we've been close to 400, 395, somewhere in that range. We, of course, as we've come down from Colorado to the low, thick air of Wisconsin, those temperatures are quite modest. We run a photo flight this morning, and I don't know that either of my cylinder heads top 300.
So how much,
including in the climb? How
much horsepower and torque does it produce?
It's 42 horsepower, which, if you do the math at 3,000 RPM, that's about 79 foot-pounds.
Okay.
There's a very flat torque curve over its last 400 or 500 RPM below red line.
And do we know the thrust numbers using this Sensonic?
Well, at sea level, this thing will pull about 250 pounds static. I will comment here on something. I've sized propellers using other people's engine power many, many times in my career. And without fail, the engine will not turn the propeller that it should turn. This is the first time in my life that I sized the propeller for the power we measured, and that was exactly what we got. Now see, up at, like in western Colorado, today, we might only pull 185 or 90 pounds of static thrust. But at sea level, you're going to pull about 250. Well, it's a conventional design in many regards. As we've already said, it's an inverted V2 engine. Its displacement is about 1,288 cc, so just a little under 1.3 liters. It's cast aluminum crankcase, forged crankshaft, billet or forged propeller hubs. The starter is a marine starter, but there's very little in this engine that is what you classify as commercial off the shelf. It uses Chevy short block lifters, that's one. Of course, it uses some standard spark plugs, and it uses standard ring packs. It's a 96 millimeter bore, 89 millimeter stroke engine.
And what are you doing for ignition and also power supply here?
Well, this is referred to as the flywheel. It's not really the flywheel. The propeller is the flywheel of the engine. But we refer to it as a flywheel. It's the starter ring gear. It's a trigger magnet for 2 independent ignition modules. And it's also the, excuse me, it's also the rotor for a built-in integral alternator.
And how many amp is that?
It's 18 amps.
Okay, and going from there, you what kind of a carburation system or?
It's a 2-barrel carb side draft. We did a fair amount of testing with single barrel carbs, but we could never get the 2 cylinders to match up to each other on air-fuel ratio until we went to a 2-barrel carb. In a nutshell, each cylinder sort of doesn't know the other cylinder's there. Each of them is drawing through one barrel of the carburetor. They have to crosstalk a little bit. That's a more complex topic, but
so it's like a standard float type of carburetor?
Yeah, it's a float carburetor.
Okay.
And what this is a it is a standard carburetor die casting, but it's been customized or modified for us. In other words, we called out the throttle bore, we called out the venturi size. Of course, we specify the jets and some other features that are important to us for, you know, an aviation application.
Now, will this require carburetor heat, or is it routed in such a way?
We have carburetor heat.
Okay.
There's no exhaust on this display engine. It has a crossover exhaust. It comes out of the left side. It crosses over and they wire together just below the right. Well, I said it doesn't have an exhaust. It does too have an exhaust. Silly me. But what it doesn't have is a heat muff.
Okay.
There's a heat muff that goes from right here over to here and provides hot air into the top of the airbox.
Steve, let's talk about TBO, and you mentioned that there's a couple ways of getting there.
Under the ASTM spec, there's really two methods outlined. One is called the fleet leader approach, and that means you build an engine and you start flying it. And if I recall correctly, what you would tell your customers is 80% of the number that you've actually proven by flight. The second method is called an accelerated overhaul test. And the accelerated overhaul test is something you do not in flight, that runs the engine considerably harder, and that's the method that we've chosen. I mean, obviously we have a lot of flight time on the engines as well, but we have a test cell that we develop the engine in, and it's a highly instrumented. We're recording. We've done thousands. This is no exaggeration. Thousands of runs with recorded data where we're recording manifold pressure, oil temperature, oil pressure, both EGTs, both CHTs, pressures at different places in the engine. And under the accelerated overhaul test, you're granted an hour of TBO, if you want to say it that way, for every 5 minutes you spend at what I call war power, max power. But it qualified that the engine has to be running within 10 degrees Fahrenheit of redline oil temperature and redline cylinder head temperature. All right, it's a pretty brutal thing, and in conjunction with that, the engine also has to spend at least 10% of the time that it would spend at cruise RPM. So in theory, if this is making sense, in theory, you could prove a 2,000 hour engine in something like 350 or 400 hours, okay? Because that's why they call it the accelerated overhaul test. You're doing something to the engine that you would never do to it in real life, namely running it as hot as it's allowed to be for long periods of time. It's a brutal test. And I'm not certain of this, but I'm not sure that anyone else that has an LSA engine that they use the accelerated overhaul. I'm not positive of that, so because we're taking care of our business, not snooping on our neighbors. But I don't see any evidence that anyone else has done the accelerated overhaul method.
So using that process, you're designating this at the moment as a 2,000 hour TBO?
No, we're at 750. It's running in Colorado right now. So, you know, we don't see. I'll tell you what I can tell you about it. At 750 hours, we don't see measurable wear in bearings. We don't see measurable wear. We don't see detectable wear any. Maybe 1,000th of an inch on cylinder bore, you know, standard ring wear. But we opted for reliability everywhere we went. I tell my people, pilots are kind of geeky people, and they like to stand around and talk about the latest techie stuff. But when they're in the air, they want one thing out of their engine. They want it to get them back to the airport. They want reliability. And even if it's not the latest, greatest something, reliability really, really matters. So if we came to any fork in the road during design or development, we took the reliability path.
Okay,
and
perfect.
Said differently, you could probably extract 10 or 15 pounds out of this engine, but when you do it, you're lowering the reliability.
So Steve, obviously, the obvious thing here is that this is a single seat and it's a folding wing. So let's talk into the design conception of that, again, being affordable.
Sure. Well, the folding wing is to attack the third cost thing that I mentioned, which is storage cost. I don't know how it is all around the country. Where we are, hangar availability is a waiting list proposition, and once it's your turn, you get to pay a lot, whether it's rental, lease, or purchase. It's expensive. It's expensive to store an airplane. This airplane is designed to fit in a toy hauler, car hauler with standard width trailer.
What length trailer?
What's that?
Approximately what length of a trailer?
20 foot.
Okay.
The airplane's 18 feet, so like a V-nose 20-foot trailer fits it ideally. It was also designed to fit in a shipping container, a 20-foot cargo container, because we anticipate overseas sales with it. And unlike so many airplanes that are shipped overseas, a couple of mechanics may spend days disassembling and preparing the airplane to go in a cargo container. This one would be pretty much make sure you got the gas and oil drained out of it, fold the wings, roll it in, clamp it down, and it's ready to go. Then those mechanics don't have to go to the new country to reassemble it. And so the import cost to move one somewhere in the world, we think it will be unprecedentedly low.
So looking at the profile of this, what is some of the, where did you get some of the design ideas for the artistry, if you will?
Well, I'm a vintage airplane guy, you know. I fly a Luscombe, pre-war tail aircraft, a Beech 18. Those are the kinds of airplanes that I'm attracted to. I personally think the Supermarine Spitfire was possibly the most beautiful man-made thing in history. And this airplane probably has a little bit of several of those in it. It probably has some Ryan STA, some Swift, some Hawker Hurricane, some Supermarine Spitfire, but it's not a copy of any of those. It's just, this is what looks good to us.
So you wanted to build something timeless.
Exactly, exactly.
And you're a metal basher, as they say in Australia.
Well, I'm not a fan of composites when it comes to manufacturability, because your production rates are limited by autoclave size and number, and you can only cure composites so fast. With aluminum, it's a different story. And also, and please don't misunderstand, I'm not anti-composite all the way around the board. I've designed with them. I think they have their place. They're real good in tennis rackets. They're real good in golf clubs and fly rods. I think it remains to be seen how well they do in airplanes. But mostly, anyone with any training in aircraft maintenance has been exposed to the methods of inspecting and the methods of repairing metal airplanes. And as most people know, composite structures can actually look good and not be good. They can be delaminated, they can have problems inside. That takes some pretty sophisticated non-destructive testing methodologies to discover. An aluminum airplane is very honest. If it's been abused, it shows you. It's either wrinkled or cracked or torn. It has and the methodology for fixing it is 100-year-old science. It's known. Everyone knows how to do it. You can't become an A&P without at least doing a modest amount of sheet metal repair. If you go on Advisory Circular 4313, the non-engineering methods of repairing a metal airplane are well laid out. Not so true for composites.
All right, Steve, let's talk about the performance numbers of this aircraft, and we'll get into how it's powered.
Okay.
So what are we looking at for a climb out, and then what are we looking at for cruise?
Well, a sea level rate of climb in the POH is 750. Keep in mind, we did all the development work with this airplane way above sea level. We're based right at 5,000 feet, and we've done an awful lot of the development work in very high density altitudes. The altitude performance of this airplane on a fairly modest amount of power and with tremendous fuel efficiency or fuel economy is actually, I think, quite remarkable. It sort of doesn't cease to amaze us. We flew 4 of these here from Colorado. Total fuel burn, 88 gallons. This is from almost Utah part of Colorado. We launched from just inside the western border of Colorado. We had a Cessna 180 chase plane. Every time we stopped, The 180 took more fuel than the 4 other airplanes combined. So we made it, each of these airplanes made it here on 22 gallons of gas average. So
and what was your average speed?
You're passing the Priuses below you that can't match that, and I guarantee you they're not having near as much fun.
And what was your average speed along the route?
Well, we had some tailwind, so we were probably beating 100 knots, 105 knots, pretty much all the way. When we go, if we take one back west, it won't be as good, but the cruising speed is just over 100 miles an hour, 2,700 RPM, which is your 2.1 gallon an hour fuel burn range.
Okay, let's talk about weights for a second. What is the empty and then gross?
The design empty weight is 420 pounds. The 2 airplanes that are sitting here right now, I believe one is 439, one is 440. They both have everything that we could put on them. They have transponders, they have landing and taxi lights, they have nav lights and strobes. We don't have a long list of options, but these are decked out. If we strip that stuff off, we'd be considerably closer to the design weight, empty. The gross weight's 740 pounds, 20-pound baggage behind the pilot, and 8 gallons of gas, so there's 48 pounds. And if you just do the math, about 275-pound pilot would be the max weight for this airplane.
So this is an SLSA. You've got several of these already built and ready to go. What is the process of actually buying one? Deposits, lead time of delivery, and all those kind of things, Steve?
Well, you might not like the answer. We're working that process out right now. I mean, we probably have more inventory lined up to sell than anybody here. I'd be willing to bet on it. Come look at the factory photos. We have airplanes lined up. What we're here to find out is what build rate we should establish, if that makes sense. It will to people who are in the manufacturing business. In manufacturing, you don't want to do this. You want to ramp, and you want to run a level build rate as steady as you can. That's where you're going to get the best results, the best efficiency, and frankly, the best profitability, because you're not going to be roller coastering all the elements of cost that go along with manufacturing. What we have on the website right now, to answer your question a little bit more directly, is we'll start deliveries this fall, and here's how you contact us. But we don't have a plan of what a deposit amounts to or anything else. We're here to find out how many we need to build. That we're going to build a lot, we don't doubt. What rate? That's what we're here to discover.
Can you give us a range of a price point?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's one on the website right now. It's $69,500. That's the base price. Includes a comm radio. Does not include a transponder, ADS-B, nav lights and strobes, or landing and taxi lights. Includes it, and the airplanes that are here have those things on them. That's why they're a little heavier than the design empty weight.
Thanks for watching this episode on the Experimental Aircraft channel. Quick shout out to our patrons over on Patreon and our co-pilot status, Zach Newsom, Mike Babcock, Lynn Gardner, Gary Martin, Michael Smith. We'll see you in the next episode.